What's going on, everybody? Kennybomb is in the building, and it is finally time for us to review the story of Mortal Kombat 1 Chaos Reigns. But before we do that, I gotta let y'all know that WB Games gave me a free copy of this expansion, so shouts out to them, and shouts out to you for watching this video. Let's get right into it.
Run, boy, they coming on.
Alright, we got a lot to talk about here, so let's jump right into it. The story starts off with Cyrax and Sector in this training mission. And right out the gate, you could tell there was some type of strange tension between these two. This is where Cyrax threw out that line, "You are my instructor and my commander, but do not confuse that with my superior." And boy, oh boy, by the end of her chapter, you can tell she was not lying. Now, Sector is supposed to be the stronger mentor here, but when they get into their fight, Cyrax comes out on top. But you know what? It's a training mission, so we're going to let her have it. Cyrax is up 1. So after the fight, it's revealed that they aren't even in the living forest. They're in some type of Lin Kuei hyperbolic time chamber that Sector built. Sub-Zero walks in and says, "Listen, I know where Kuai Liang is, and it's time for us to crash his wedding." When Bi-Han presents this idea, Sector's cool with it, but Cyrax pushes back. "Nobody's going to respect us if we crash his wedding." Bi-Han responds, "That's what I don't care about. Go get ready for war because we are doing this." Now this is the interesting part, because when Cyrax leaves, Sector leans in and tells Sub-Zero she's on to us, and if she finds out what really happened, she's gonna turn. Sub-Zero tells her if she does, we'll be ready. Just this small conversation shows that Cyrax was not in the wrong. Kuai Liang was. He assumed they would be loyal to Bi-Han, so he didn't even go talk to them. Now don't get me wrong, based on what we know now, Sector was definitely staying with the Lin Kuei. But if Kuai Liang knew Cyrax like Sector and Bi-Han knew Cyrax, then he should have known his values aligned with hers and she would have been willing to walk with him. But he didn't even give her a chance, which makes him look like a terrible person in this next scene. So this was a great way to start things off because this was our first introduction to Sector and Cyrax. And in just the first 5 minutes of the story, you establish a relationship between these three characters, which made some things that happen in the next scene make a little bit more sense. Now we had to Kuai Liang's wedding, and spoiler alert, Havoc never showed up here, but this is where the chaos really went down. So we see Liu Kang's champions, and it's worth noting that Smoke is not one of Liu Kang's champions. This was actually confirmed later on in the story. But we see Kuai Liang and we see Harumi making their way down the aisle for the wedding. Pastor Raiden is getting ready to swear them in, but the Lin Kuei invades. Now, during this scene, I'm thinking, here we go. Somebody's going to kill Harumi and things are never going to be the same again. Now in previous timelines, we've seen like pictures and stills of Harumi being ducked off in the corner as bad things are happening to her. But in this timeline, Harumi pulls out a sword and she's going crazy on everybody in the Lin Kuei. She's killing these guys and she's taking everybody down until these two Lin Kuei warriors put a stop to it. I thought this was going to be the moment where they create that unstoppable blood feud between Scorpion and Sub-Zero, but Cyrax jumped in. Timeline after timeline after timeline. Hanzo Asashi tried to stop Harumi from being killed, but he couldn't do it. Cyrax, she did it like that. Now, as you would imagine, Sector was not happy that Cyrax stopped this brutal murder. She was like, "Cyrax, what are you doing? Not only are you stopping this killing, but you're beating up these Lin Kuei warriors." Cyrax said something like, "She doesn't fight us because she's an enemy, she's fighting us because we're fighting her." Ma'am, she just killed like 10 Lin Kuei warriors. What are you talking about? But this is where things get kind of messy, and I really don't like how they played out. Scorpion's pissed about this assault, so he rolls up on Cyrax and they have a fight. Now Scorpion, Grandmaster of the Shirai Ryu, former Lin Kuei warrior. He goes up against Cyrax, who is being trained by Sector. Cyrax beats him. I mean, game over. Cyrax just beat Scorpion. Scorpion and Sub-Zero are supposed to be the strongest warriors at this wedding without a question. So why would you have Cyrax beat Scorpion to the point where he's laid out, ready to be taken captive by the Lin Kuei? I didn't like it, and that happens a lot more in this story. Another time in this chapter, in fact. So after Scorpion's beat down to the point where he can't get up anymore, Sub-Zero walks up to him and says, "Are you ready, brother, to reap the rewards of your faithlessness?" Scorpion's beat down so bad all he could respond with is, It's so bad the only person who can save Scorpion at this point is the woman who was about to be his wife, Harumi. She says, if you want to take him, you gotta kill me first. And Bihan says, listen, Cyrax, grant her wish, please. Now at this point, Harumi's seen the brutal beatdown Cyrax put on Scorpion, so she knows she can't take her. So what does she do? She resorts to snitching. Bihan is lying to you. He has no honor. He's done this, he's done that. And Scorpion jumps up and says, yeah, he killed our dad. Not only that, he also sided with Shang Tsung and Quan Chi to try to take down Earthrealm. And how do you think I got this cut on my eye? Cyrax is like, wait a minute, what? Is that true? And in the best part of this whole story expansion, Bihan looks her in her eyes and says,
every word.
Talk about standing on business. But they ruined it immediately, because after Sub-Zero says this, Cyrax looks at Sector and says, wait a minute, you knew about this? Sector responds, yes, but we just didn't tell you because we knew you wouldn't be in on it. So if Bihan and Sector knew Cyrax was not going to be in on this, what made Kuali Yang think her loyalty was so strong to Bihan that he wouldn't join her? It makes him look like an idiot, and it makes him look like a bad guy, because at the end of this scene, he was literally about to chop her head off. But that's not the biggest problem here. The problem is, after their interaction, Cyrax beats Sub-Zero down too. So Cyrax is 3 up on the Lin Kuei. She beats Sector, she beats Scorpion, and she beats Sub-Zero. Scorpion and Sub-Zero were beat down so bad, they were both ready to be taken captive after. Scorpion and Sub-Zero are 2 of the most important characters in Mortal Kombat. And being that we are in a new universe, I think it's very important right now that we put these characters in strong positions. Otherwise, they're going to end up like Shao Kahn did. And nobody wants that. But unfortunately, these were not the only important characters that got cooked in this story. I think one of them got completely ruined, and we'll get to that before we finish this review. But let's go ahead and finish up this wedding scene, because after this whole rigmarole, we see Scorpion standing over Cyrax, and he's about to chop her head off. But Harumi says, wait a minute, let's spare her for my wedding gift. I think that's a pretty nice wedding gift, right? Saving a life. So Scorpion agrees to the wedding gift and allows Cyrax to keep her head on her shoulders, even though we already know Cyrax can take him out if she wants to. We've already seen it. But Scorpion's headed off somewhere after this. He thanks Raiden for having the Shaolin help him defend themselves against the Lin Kuei, and he says he'll deal with Sub-Zero and Sector when he gets back. Raiden says, respectfully, that's what you're not doing. We're going to take them to Liu Kang and Mileena, and we're going to let them deal with them. Now, the wedding scene was my favorite part of this expansion, because during the rest of it, we were pretty much in the Chaos realm, dealing with other characters that we won't really be seeing in our timeline anymore, so I like the story progression we got here. Now, everything was not perfect, and I didn't mind Cyrax beating Sector just because those 2 trained together, but having her beat Scorpion and Sub-Zero in the beginning of this story, I think that was a bad decision. I mean, you literally had Kung Lao and Johnny Cage at the wedding. These are 2 characters who could have taken a loss without being hurt at all. You could have had Bihan knock out Scorpion and maybe had Raiden knock out Sub-Zero for them to actually take him to Liu Kang and Mileena, but you didn't have to have Cyrax beat them both. So that really hurt this first part of the story for me, but overall, everything else I think was fine. So after the wedding, we head to Outworld, and here we see Sub-Zero and Sector on their knees in handcuffs, and Liu Kang's having a conversation with Mileena, pretty much saying, listen, I brought them here so we can deal with this issue, but I'm asking you not to kill them. Mileena's like, listen, last time they asked me not to kill General Shao, we locked him up, he escaped, and now he's taking my sister's armies to their limits. Liu Kang says Earthrealm's might is at your disposal, so this may be some Mortal Kombat 13 seeds they're planting here. Could General Shao be our next big bad guy? You know what? I wouldn't be mad at that at all. But that's something we'll talk about in another video. But this conversation was cut short because this is where we saw the debut of Titan Havoc. Havoc tells Liu Kang, I'm here because I didn't know other timelines existed, but now that I know, I need all of these timelines to come together and fight each other because I need the chaos. I'm not here to kill you yet, Liu Kang, but I will take Geras if you don't mind. They have a Royal Rumble in Mileena's throne room, kidnap Geras, Sub-Zero jumps through the portal, and now we are off to the races. Now, up until this point, I loved where the story was going because we had all of our characters from Liu Kang's universe, and it felt like we were learning more about them and the story was pushing forward. I mean, even after this, we saw our Liu Kang, Kitana, Mileena all in the room trying to discuss what they were going to do to go save Geras, and Kitana says something like, this Havoc is nothing like our Havoc. This one just wants destruction. And Liu Kang gives us a great story point because for the longest I was wondering, how is Havoc like this big old bad guy when he was just a scrub in Liu Kang's universe. Liu Kang answered that question for us and said, our Havoc is less crazed because I recrafted his destiny when I restarted time. I think this was the perfect explanation to what we got from Havoc in the original Mortal Kombat 1 story, because the guy was a scrub. Now, as much as I loved everything up until we got to this point, unfortunately, when we got to the Chaos timeline, things kind of fell off a cliff. So Liu Kang sends Cyrax, Sector, and Scorpion over to Havoc's timeline because they are the best trained for this mission. And I'm glad he sent Cyrax and Sector because they are completely new characters, and I think we needed to explore them in this timeline. But the problem is, once we got to the Chaos realm, we ran into Rain, Tanya, Johnny Cage from World War II, we had Quan Chi and a Killer Frost fighting in the Coliseum. These were so many characters that we don't care about because we will likely never see them again in Liu Kang's universe. I'm hoping we never see him again because this timeline stuff has got to stop. And don't get me wrong, I like the reset. I feel like things are fresh in Liu Kang's universe, but it's like they gave us this new toy, but they won't let us play with it. They did the same thing in the original Mortal Kombat story. I was so invested and ready to get to learn these new characters, and then they pulled Shang Tsung from the last universe and threw him at us at the end. Now we're pulling Havoc from another universe and meeting other characters from his universe in this expansion. I just want to focus on the characters from Mortal Kombat that we haven't seen in Liu Kang's universe so we can figure out what's going on with a lot of these characters that a lot of us grew up with. When I enjoy the story, I can break down every single piece of it to you bit by bit, but the middle of this story really lost me, and I was just sitting there kind of twiddling my fingers waiting like, okay, when's Noob Saibot coming up? Let's find out what's going on with Bihan. What are they doing to him in there? Whose hand is that on his waist? Speaking of the hand on his waist, this is probably the biggest problem I had with this story. It's the fact that I know we only have 2 hours. You know what? Mortal Kombat Aftermath was about the same length, so this is what I expected. I don't mind the length of it at all. 2 hours is the length of a good movie, so they definitely had enough time to tell us a good story here. I just don't feel like they maximized their minutes in the best way possible. We didn't need to see all this stuff with Rain and Tanya. They built up so much stuff in just that wedding scene to carry us throughout the whole story. All we needed when we went to the Chaos Realm was Scorpion, Cyrax, and Sector. These characters know each other very well, but none of them like each other anymore. So I feel like they could have told us a much better story if they focused in on these characters on the way to find Geras and, if it's up to Scorpion, a possible Bihan. And I may be wrong, but I do feel like we would have gotten so much more character progression if Rain and Tanya weren't tagging along with them. And you know what? Rain was there for a purpose because he gave us the big death scene, but the problem with that is, again, this is not our Rain, so that's what we don't care about. But after we finally escape the trap dungeon, we run into Noob Saibot. Now I'm back in. I'm like, here we go. Noob Saibot is here. Wait a minute, he has a hand on his waist, so I guess we're just not going to get any information on that. We'll have to wait and see. Noob Saibot runs up, has his dialogue with Scorpion. They do their little spar thing. But then he runs into Tanya. And we killed Bihan in this story expansion to turn him into Noob Saibot, who was supposed to be such a threat, such a formidable character, a beast, a monster. And he gets cooked by Tanya immediately. But not only did she beat him fast, she beat him bad. Because after she knocked him out, they went to save Geras. They took the Kami Dogu. Geras transported them back to Earthrealm, I guess, so Liu Kang can heal him. And he was knocked out the whole time. So at the wedding, in canon, Cyrax beats Sub-Zero and Cyrax beats Scorpion. Now at the end of this story, Noob Saibot, one of the characters you built up so much as an evil threat, Tanya beats him. First try, easy. There's definitely a woman empowerment thing going on here, which is fine, you know what, I get it. But you're hurting your characters. But anyway, we see Liu Kang healing Noob Saibot from not only the beatdown Tanya gave him, but he's trying to suck the chaos out of him as well. After Liu Kang finishes up with the Kami Dogu magic, Noob Saibot sits up on the bed like the Undertaker, looking like a sad kid who just lost his puppy. But at this point, it's kind of revealed that there is something going on between him and Sector. And you know what? I like it. I know we got Sector and Cyrax fans out there from the previous universe, but personally for me, I never cared about the robots. Pairing her with Bihan actually makes me care about this character. Just like having Cyrax turn on the Lin Kuei to join the Shirai Ryu, spoiler alerts I guess, that makes me care about her as well. So it could have gone either way with Cyrax, even though I think they have been kind of teasing something between her and Scorpion as well, but turning them into women actually may have been a good idea. But after this scene, Noob Saibot is going absolutely crazy. He can beat everybody else except Tanya. But Havoc shows up doing his Chucky chants, Aoi, Dewey, Dimbala, pulling all of the Kami Dogu in his chest, and you think he's gonna make himself a formidable foe that's about to go crazy and take everybody down. He starts ripping his arms off, throwing them on the ground, making new Havocs. This scene was very epic, by the way. It felt huge. I loved everything from the point where Noob Saibot woke up on that bed until we got here, because Havoc was popping his stuff like a true boss. He said, every timeline I take over, it comes down to this. A battle between titans that I always win. Noob Saibot says, that's not what you're doing this time. This time you're gonna fight me. Liu Kang tries to pull him back and says, wait, your ego. And he's like, don't worry about that. I know everything he has to offer, so I'm gonna take him down. So now I'm hyped up. Is Noob Saibot really gonna be the one to take down Titan Havoc, even though he just lost to Tanya? So I'm ready for this battle. Havoc just ripped off his arms and created a million different Havocs. I'm thinking we are going into some Invasion's Titan battle type stuff here, but you literally go in, you beat him in a normal match, and that's it. This was not an epic battle at all. Difficulty wasn't spiked up or anything. We just pretty much beat him and that was it. But after Noob Saibot got the win, he went in for the kill, as he should have, because this man did some dastardly things, and he also turned him into this black beast. But Liu Kang stops him, stating, you can't kill him because we don't know what's going to happen to his timeline. This goes back to the original Mortal Kombat 1 story. After Liu Kang took out Shang Tsung and Quan Chi, the timeline crumbled, so he doesn't want that same thing to happen here. But Noob Saibot responds, that's what I don't care about. This man did all of these bad things, so we're going to take him out. Liu Kang says, enough! Pushes Noob Saibot in a beautiful scene. This whole thing was beautiful. This ending was epic. I love the aggression shown between Liu Kang and Noob Saibot. Just great character development here. Now Liu Kang got lucky here because Noob Saibot was about to rip his head off, but Geras froze him in time and stopped it. Now you might be saying, wait, no, Liu Kang could beat him, but you got to think about it. When Havoc invaded Outworld, he hit Liu Kang with a hammer and Liu Kang couldn't get up. He couldn't even save Geras. And Noob Saibot was built with that same chaos that Liu Kang couldn't handle. So if Noob Saibot can take down Havoc, then Noob Saibot can take down Liu Kang as well. The only person he can't take down is Tanya. But that's okay, because she's dangerous. Based on the way things played out, she could take down Titan Havoc and Fire God Liu Kang. But anyway, even though this end fight wasn't an epic battle, I was satisfied with the ending. The only thing I wish is that we actually got to see what happened to Havoc, because it's kind of like you didn't get a resolution to the story. We know he can grow back his arms and legs, so just because they were cut off doesn't mean anything. So after playing this story to take down Havoc, we were left not knowing what happened to him in the end. I think Liu Kang said he was going to throw him in the abyss or something, but I mean, if that's the resolution, we need to see that. But instead, they fast forward to a scene where we see Bihan in a casket with a Baldy. Liu Kang says it's not too late to save him. We got to send him to the Temple of the Elements, and, you know, we'll check back on him in a few years. I don't know what that means. Is he going to continue on as our Sub-Zero or not? Because if these tower endings are canon, then we could be in trouble. Of course, we're going to do a breakdown on those, but now I'm hoping they aren't canon. But that's the end of Mortal Kombat 1 Chaos Reigns, a quick summary on the story and my thoughts on it. Overall, I will say the story could have been a lot better, and it would have been a lot better if we focused mainly on characters from Liu Kang's universe. I really didn't like the fact that this is Noob Saibot's first time showing up, and even though we saw Bihan getting kidnapped, we really didn't get anything to see how he turned into Noob Saibot. I also really enjoyed the fact that Liu Kang summoned his Earthrealm warriors, and you saw Reptile there, you saw Kenshi there, you saw Johnny Cage, you saw Raiden, but Smoke was nowhere to be found. And y'all ask me why I don't like Smoke. Look how they portray this character. Sector said in the beginning of the story, this is a battle for our lives. This is a life or death situation, and when they summon Earthrealm's warriors, Smoke being in the Lin Kuei, Shirai Ryu now, nowhere to be found. Don't blame me no more. Blame Netherrealm Studios because Smoke did absolutely nothing throughout this whole story except get beat up by Cyrax, but everybody got beat up by Cyrax, so I guess that's okay. But if I had to put a rating on this story, because so many things were inconsequential, and I don't even see them mattering in Mortal Kombat 13, I'm going to go 6 out of 10. Hopefully in Mortal Kombat 13, we don't have to deal with this time skip stuff anymore because we got a lot of characters that we know nothing about, and I want to stay in Liu Kang's universe so we can learn more about them. But thank y'all for tuning into this video. Do me a huge favor and drop a like on it, but don't forget to smash that subscribe button, especially if you don't want to miss any updates on Mortal Kombat 1. And big shout out to WB Games again for giving me a free copy of this one. Bomb Squad, let's get to that.